Welcome to a new video where today I have the new Alpine A290 GTS. It's been my press car now for the last 6 days. It actually gets collected tomorrow, which I'm very sad about, but it is a full EV hot hatch and it is Alpine's latest road car. So let's take a look around. So this car's actually finished in a color called Alpine Vision Blue, and in this case it has the contrast gloss black roof. You have these cross signature daytime running lights, which are really cool. I've not really seen that before. And then you get that same kind of logo in the headlight unit as well. And then obviously, just to let everyone know that this is a sports car, it has black alloys with red calipers. And then for the interior, we've got this blue and gray leather that actually runs through the entire interior, all through the center console, armrest, front and back seats. And you get the little French flags that are kind of scattered around the car, and the A290 in the seat. All the usual buttons on the steering wheel. One thing that is a little bit unusual is the regen is actually on this switch here. So traditionally now you would have your energy recovery or your braking regeneration on paddles, but for whatever reason they've decided to put it on this little switch down here. And then this button here is actually, I think, the overtake button. So basically, if you're driving along and you hit that, it dumps a load more battery power to give you like a boost effectively. I do wonder why that power isn't just under your foot, but it is quite fun to use. This car comes in at £38,500, I think, and I'm pretty sure the only option on here is actually the paint. So the Alpine Vision Blue paint with the contrast black roof, that's an additional £1,100, but everything else that you're seeing on the car is standard, and I think that includes all the interior features like heated seats, heated steering wheel, Apple CarPlay, wireless charging. All of that is kind of standard in the GTS model. So we should probably take it for a drive. So before I talk any more about this car specifically, I just want to talk briefly about Alpine as a brand, because I think a lot of people, or at least a lot of people that I speak to, are still not very familiar with them. So the brand was actually founded in 1955 by a guy called John Ridele, who was essentially, I think he was a manager at a Renault dealership. And he used to take the Renault cars and basically put them on a diet and race them. So he would strip them down and then take them to race events. And the Alpine name actually comes from, I think, the Alpine Hills, which is north of Mille Miglia, which I hope I've pronounced that correctly, but I think essentially it was his favorite place to race. And that's how the brand started. And then since then, the brand kind of was forged in motorsport. So through the 50s and 60s, they had victories across rally and endurance racing, including the 24-hour of Le Mans. And they also, I think, operated a Formula 2 team back then as well. They were purchased by Renault in 1974, I think, and they made road cars with Renault ever since, all the way up until 1994, where the kind of name just vanished completely. Yeah, it just disappeared. And then we saw them return in 2017 with the Alpine A110, which is the base car of the A110R that I drove to France earlier in the year. Since returning, they've returned to rally, and they've returned to the World Endurance Championships. And in 2021, the Renault Formula 1 team was actually rebranded as Alpine, which I think is probably how a lot of you will know them as today. Now that the history lesson is over, we can actually talk about the performance of the car. So bear in mind, this is an EV, so this is all going to be electrical stuff, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So it has a 52 kilowatt battery, which is essentially the battery capacity. That's how much energy the battery can store, which I think is probably the single biggest factor that affects the range of the car. And the power is 160 kilowatts. Kilowatts or kilowatt hours, but to you and me, it's 220 brake horsepower that it drives to the front wheel. So it's front wheel drive only, which is probably appropriate for a hatch. for a hot hatch. It does 0 to 62 in 6.5, and it only has a top speed of 105, which I was quite surprised about. But it's very fun to drive. The weight, I mean, so everyone's gonna kind of hate the weight because it's supposed to be a lightweight hot hatch, and it's Alpine, and kind of like their brand philosophy is lightness. But it weighs 1,400, which I was expecting it to be heavier. So 1,400 kilograms, I don't think that's crazy for an EV. But everyone was telling me that my A45 is too heavy, and that's 1,600. They were saying that that was too much for a hot hatch. So I don't know, but it is what it is, and they've got to put the battery somewhere. So it's probably on the chunky side for the car it's supposed to be, but having that kind of weight down low in the floor does give you, I mean, everyone says this about every EV, but it does give you a good center of gravity. So it does keep the weight low to the floor, keeps the body stiff, stops the car from rolling in turns. So from that perspective, it handles really well. And then when you couple that with the kind of instant torque you get from the electric motor driven to the front wheels, it's probably one of the one of the most fun hot hatches that I've ever driven. Yeah, no, that's fair. It is a good little car, and it does perform. The last important thing, I suppose, for an electric car is the range. So it has a range of 226 miles, apparently. I've been getting more around, well, probably 150. Not that I'm hooning it, but obviously it depends on how you drive it. But I'm getting about 150 out of 80%. So with 100%, if you charge it up to 100, yeah, you probably would be around 175, 180 maybe. And if you had the kind of the perfect conditions, you could maybe get 200 plus out of it. That's how it's been for me so far. So that is the Alpine A290 GTS. I think you'll all agree that it's a very interesting looking car. Alpine do make cool little cars. They all look nice. They only make 3. There's one other car which is A390, I think, which I'm not sure is out yet, but that's essentially an SUV. So I think that's on its way. But yeah, at the moment their lineup is 3 cars. There's a few different models. So this car actually, so this is the GTS. This is the top of the A290 lineup. I think there's if we go from bottom, I think it's A290, and then I think it's GT Premium, and then GTS. I think that's how it goes. But yeah, they're all cool little cars. And actually, I think it's hard to tell whether a car's affordable or not nowadays. All cars just seem to be so expensive. But I think in the context of the world we're in, this car's pretty affordable, and most people finance their cars now anyway. And I know that Alpine do something like a 2.9 APR. So you can get into this car for a really low monthly price. And I think that probably makes it really competitive with other things of this size. But yeah, that's it. Car gets collected tomorrow. This video's been a little bit different. I know, like the sort of walk around, I haven't done that before. So let me know if you thought it was good, or if you just thought it was a waste of time. Let me know, I won't do it again. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next video.